Boom! And once again, we are live for another episode of Rolling with the Sevens. I'm Bez.
I'm Quinn.
And we are here this week for Brunson versus Holland,
Yeah.
UFC in Vegas 22. So we missed that post-fight show last week. So should we get into Edwards versus Muhammad first?
I mean, we can do. Yeah. I mean,
I've only recently watched it again, so
what to talk about really? I mean, it was
so disappointing, man.
Impressive display from Edwards, as we thought it would be from the get-go. Looked really strong for the first round. Man, the way that man was hitting him was incredible.
No, and he wasn't far off a finish in the first round, to be honest.
No,
like after that head kick landed, Muhammad looked wobbly. I mean, another couple of strikes, that could have been over. But yeah, I mean, it did stretch out a little bit longer. But yeah, Edwards was clearly in control. Obviously, disaster struck in the second round. That was a nasty eye poke. I mean, honestly, on camera at the time, like it looked like Edwards had just landed a straight left to the eye. I didn't see a lot of problem with it. Sort of, he opened his hands on the way back out, but that's not going into his eyes. But there's been closer up pictures released since where you can fully see sort of Edwards' thumb put into the lower side of Muhammad's eyeball. So I don't for 1 second think he was faking it. But I don't really like the way Edwards has acted since.
No, he hasn't. No, the fact is that a rematch needs to be had. It's one of those situations where obviously he dominated that first round, no questions asked.
Yeah, definitely.
And with the rest of the match gone that way, probably. I mean, it didn't look like Edwards had any sign of slowing down what he was doing.
No, and in the immediate aftermath, to be fair to Edwards, he was apologising to Belal Muhammad. But he since said he doesn't think he needs a rematch and he should be next to the title shot, which I just can't see it, man. I mean, he's been out the cage. Don't get me wrong, he's on an 8-fight win streak, and I've personally, before now, I've advocated that he's probably due a title shot. The thing is, he's agreed to a fight with the number 13 dude and not beating him. He's technically broken that 8-fight win streak.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes, he was winning that fight, but you can't declare after 6 minutes of a 25-minute scrap that you're winning, and that's that.
No,
so
rematch.
The rematch has got to be on the cards. Muhammad has said as much as well. He's been asking for the rematch.
Yeah, all the best to Belal. Hopefully his eye gets better soon, and then they can just have that biff straight away.
Yeah, I mean, I think Belal Muhammad released a statement the day after he came out of hospital saying his vision was pretty much okay, and it was expected to be perfect again by the end of the week. So I don't think there's any lasting damage from it, thankfully. But yeah, I mean, to me, you've got to see that rematch now. It's annoying, but
no questions asked.
Edwards has done himself like this by agreeing to these stupid fights down lower in the rankings anyway. He should have just took that Thompson fight, man. The more I think about it now, the more it makes me angry.
No, I know.
Trying to call that Thompson being too low ranked, and now he's got himself stuck fighting the number 13 guy twice in a row. After he's already been out for 20 months, he's just wasting so much of his prime. I know he's only 29 still, but by the time he ends up fighting for a title, realistically, he's probably going to be 31, 32.
And this division's already moving a lot at the moment anyway. There's a lot of hype in it.
Yeah, definitely. And look, I don't see beating Muhammad really gets you a title shot as it is. He's still probably going to have to fight a Colby Covington or Gilbert Burns, Masvidal. I mean, the Masvidal fight I would like to see because there's a bit of bad blood there between them. But yeah,
I still think it should have been the Masvidal fight tonight. Or the other night, or last week even. That should have been the fight. Them going on to fight for the title.
I don't disagree, man. I mean, I can see for the longest time why Masvidal wouldn't want to take that fight because Edwards hasn't got a lot of name value outside the UK fans. He's almost meme-worthy in the fact of how uninterested he is. So I can see why Masvidal would want a bigger fight, but he dug himself that ditch, and he was the one who went out to Edwards after his press conference and then essentially sucker punched him.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean that fight's got to happen. But yeah, it just doesn't get any. This fight's just long. It didn't get any Edwards any closer to a title shot as it was, and now he's mired himself. He probably happens to rematch him again, or at least take another fight against someone else because you're not going to get a title shot off of it. No contest again.
Unfortunately not. And I was so looking forward to seeing Edwards absolutely smash him, but.
Which looked like it was going to be the case.
And it probably would have been.
Edwards was in clear control of that fight. There was no point where I thought Muhammad was going to win.
No. I thought a few more shots and he was going to be over.
Yeah, before, during, or after, I don't see any way Muhammad wins that fight. So in that sense, there is no point in a rematch. I don't really want to see him fight again. But you kind of got to, I think doing Muhammad a bit dirty to have him eye poke that badly and then be like, well, no, you're sorry, go and fight back down the rankings.
Yeah.
You're giving him his shot. You kind of got to follow through with it now. So. Yeah, UFC have got themselves in this mess, keep making these silly bookings for Edwards, and now we've got to live with it probably for another 6 months, judging on that.
Yeah.
I just hope they get this fight over and done with quickly. Like if Edwards sits out now for another year and a half and then rematches Muhammad, you're talking another 2-3 years before he fights the title. It's just too slow, man.
Yeah, he needs to be fighting. He needs to be fighting. I'd say within 3 months.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. If they can get that fight done for kind of June, July time,
potentially for Poirier.
Yeah, maybe somewhere on that undercard.
I'd be happy with that.
It'd be nice for him to get on a big pay-per-view card, especially for Leon Edwards. I mean, realistically, he is probably going to be challenging for a title at some point, so the UFC could do with giving him a bit of a push and getting him on a big name card. And what better card to do it on than McGregor versus Poirier 3? That's probably going to be one of the biggest selling matches the UFC's ever had.
That's probably, absolutely.
Bigger
than Khabib?
No, definitely not. I mean, McGregor has lost a bit of his star power in terms of sort of more casual fans who just saw him win every time he fought, and that's that. He's going to have lost a bit of that sway by now. I mean, I know his fight against Pacquiao was more than likely gone down the drain.
Wow, yeah. I mean, there's a chance for McGregor now because, again, I do root for the guy. I really do. I used to back in the day when he was a cocky, arrogant motherfucker who just played the act. His
run from featherweight in the first place, when he first came in the UFC to when he won the featherweight title, was incredible. And actually, to be fair, even that fight, the first fight against Diaz, was a great fight. It didn't end well for him, but it was a great fight like that.
But he came back. He came back strong.
He did, but to the point, like that run up was brilliant to watch. And I could see why people would get behind him, whether they're British or Irish or not. But yeah, since he's just made himself hard to support between his in-ring losing and his out-of-the-ring kind of questionable morals, shall we say. I find it hard to support him in the first place. It's even harder to support him now. And I just can't see him beating any of the top 5 at lightweight.
Well, this is it. It's how he plays the next few months now, because we know this is getting booked in the summer.
His best bet really would have either been to go and have that trilogy fight against Nate Diaz and hope that Diaz's ring rust was the same as his, or had to take a fight against Tony Ferguson, who's on the slide but is still reasonably high ranked. But this fight against Poirier seems like I just don't think he's got it in him to beat him. I know he has previously, but it was years ago at featherweight when McGregor was motivated and active. He's just sold off his whiskey brand. He's worth all sorts of money already.
Yeah. This could be his last fight, though. This is either going to be his last fight or another run at the title. Because after that, we then have, before that, we have Oliveira and Chandler.
Yeah. I mean, I think McGregor is definitely, he's always one win away from a title shot. Yeah. If he does manage to get the win over Poirier, then
and so far, any rematch he's had, he hasn't lost. So far, and this will be.
Well, no, he has. The rematches against Poirier, and he lost. Poirier's the second fight.
Oh yeah, alright, yeah, no, okay, fair enough. In a row though. In a row.
He's never lost a trilogy fight of which he hasn't had any yet, so I'll give you that one. But yeah, no, it does bring us on neatly to Oliveira Chandler, which is booked this week. So it seems like Dana's tweeted out news that we all knew in 3-4 months ago that Khabib has retired from the UFC, which he'd already told us and repeatedly. Yeah. But Dana's now finally accepted it, and they've booked up a new fight for the UFC lightweight belt, Oliveira versus Chandler.
I'm excited. I mean, Oliveira's been on an amazing streak.
It seemed like this was the one that was going to get booked, to be honest. I mean, Gaethje's just coming off a fairly definitive loss. I mean, it was one of the easiest fights Khabib's ever had, to be honest, against Gaethje. He trounced him. No shame in it. I mean, Khabib's Khabib, but it's not exactly, you can't really call for a title shot after getting beat up like that by the former champion.
Yeah.
Poirier obviously has made it clear that he wants to earn the extra money against McGregor, so really that does only leave Oliveira and Chandler in the top there. Oliveira's on an 8-fight win streak. Obviously, Chandler's held the belt in Bellator before, so I'm not mad at it, to be honest. I know people are saying that Oliveira's not really beat anyone good, but he beat Tony Ferguson last time out. He's beat Kevin Lee, who's another guy who fought for a UFC interim belt. So it's not like he's beating complete scrubs.
No, not at all. And Chandler's debut was absolutely stunning.
Yeah, granted he's only had one UFC win, but then so did Anderson Silva when he came into the UFC. He beat Chris Lieben, who granted is a tough dude, but he's not exactly the elite of the elite. Like, it's not unprecedented for someone to come in and make an impressive debut and get a title shot. So I'm not really hating on it.
And Hooker went toe to toe with Dustin Poirier for the entire. He went the distance.
Yeah, I mean they went 25 hard minutes. Granted, Poirier took over kind of towards the end of the fight, but it was literally only in the last 5 minutes or so, and they both came out of it looking like they'd been in a car crash.
And he went out there and went
easy. Yeah. And he has held the belt. For a long time, people have questioned whether Chandler is the best lightweight outside of the UFC or even in the UFC. I would have loved to see him versus Khabib. Money would probably be on Khabib, but Chandler's got the best wrestling game by far out of anyone that Khabib would have faced. So it at least would have had some intrigue to it. But I don't think it's going to happen now. Looks like Khabib walking away.
No,
Dana White's finally accepted it.
But I'm looking forward to it. Who would you put? I mean, personally, my money's going on Chandler just after that performance.
I've got Oliveira by sub, man. He's looked so impressive recently.
But you were just talking about Chandler's wrestling game.
Yeah, I know.
You think he's going to get subbed out?
Yeah, definitely.
Really?
Oliveira's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game is at least on a par with Chandler's wrestling. And he has looked so much better recently. He looks like he's growing as a fighter. He's been in the UFC for, I think, for getting on for 10 years now. So people have seen him stumble, but equally he's been fighting the best of the best, and he's had opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
I think by now he's coming into his prime. The way he handled Tony Ferguson, no one else has done that to him. I mean, that's what shows me that Khabib would have smashed Tony Ferguson to bits. Because if Oliveira can wrestle fuck you like that, then Khabib would have done you dirty.
Yeah.
But the fact that he can handle Tony Ferguson on the ground, he nearly got in at the end of that first round. I reckon another 5 seconds he would have had Tony tap in from that armbar. So yeah, I think Oliveira's got this, man. His stand-ups look so much better. His ground game's always been like the dog's bollocks. Chandler's no punk. Like, I wouldn't want to completely write him off, but equally he is 34, 35. He's been doing this for a long time.
Very true.
He's taken a lot of damage along the way.
Yep. We're going to see. It's going to be a great fight. It's going to be for the lightweight. For the lightweight. For anything else, I'm glad we're getting Conor, the Conor trilogy. I'm glad we're getting the lightweight.
Forward,
the lightweight division's been stagnant, man.
Yeah, Ferguson's been booked against Dariush, which again is a really good opportunity for Dariush to kind of again, since he's come back from injury, he's been looking shit hot. Riding a 5 or 6.
And it's nice to see Ferguson back in the ring again.
Yeah, I'd like to see him get back on the horse, but I just can't see it, man. I think Ferguson, he's taken so much damage along the way. Like, it's not that he can't get wins in the UFC anymore, but he's definitely going to have to stake us. He's kind of getting like the lightweight kind of cowboy.
But we're now at a point now where the lightweight division is moving, but Justin Gaethje's been snubbed a little bit here.
He's the odd man out, and that's the trouble. I said this all along: is that there's kind of you've got 5 guys at the top of the division who could be fighting for a belt or next in line, and one of those 5 obviously is going to get parted out of the equation. For me, the trouble is that they kind of had Gaethje and Ferguson left over, and they recently fought, and it was a fairly definitive win for Gaethje, so they can't really rematch those two. Maybe Gaethje Hooker. I can see that fight getting made. I think Hooker's ranked 6th in the division. So
yeah, okay, but I mean, just coming off a very easy defeat after Chandler.
He is, but then Gaethje's also coming off that loss to Khabib.
Well, if Chandler does win this, I mean, okay.
They're both coming off L's, so like it's a loss versus a loss. I think one of them's going to need to win to try and get their name back in the conversation. The one that doesn't is probably going to have to take a step down for a little while. Yeah. So it'll be an important fight for both of them. I mean, Gaethje, again, like a lot of people are saying, he's the second best lightweight. The trouble is,
really? I mean, do you think? I mean, after seeing what, I mean, honestly, second best lightweight division.
His wins haven't aged that well. That's the problem for me. So his wins, he beat Cowboy.
Yeah, but who hasn't?
Cowboy's old as shit, and he's been knocked out in his last 3 or 4 fights, I think. He beat Tony Ferguson, who again got mollywopped by Oliveira and just been looking old. Whether it's Gaethje that's caused that damage or not is another question, but again, another win that's not particularly aged well. James Vick has been cut from the UFC since Gaethje fought him, and Edson Barboza's dropped down to featherweight. So he's not... His wins that he's had, granted he's been on a 4-fight win streak, but it's not looked particularly impressive. And then his fight against Khabib was not embarrassing. You can't really fight for a UFC title and say you've been embarrassed.
No.
But it was a thoroughly one-sided defeat by Khabib. Khabib even beat him on the feet, which is surprising because everyone thought Gaethje was sort of patient. He might be able to keep him on the feet.
Yeah.
His wrestling game to.
But he also showed that. He also showed that with Conor in their fight. He gave him a round on the feet and showed that he could go toe to toe with them. I don't know what Gaethje was thinking.
Khabib's striking game is underrated, man. People have been saying it for years that he's so weak at striking, but I mean he's proved he's not.
And he can
take strikers in the division.
He can take a hell of a punch, man. We've seen him take punches from.
I mean, that tends to help when you don't take any damage. You kind of keep your chin reasonably fresh, and that seems to be the case with Khabib. The 1 or 2 times that he has taken a shot, he's just been able to shake it off and walk through it. He's a freak of nature like that. But I'm just glad they're sorting out the top of that division. Lightweight's been a mess for the longest time. Since Dana was like, no, Khabib ain't retired, I'll convince him to come back. And Khabib's been telling us he definitely...
It's been a waste of time. It's been a really big waste of time for the lightweights.
Dana's just accepted what we've already known for the last kind of 6-7 months. Yeah. At least he's finally done it.
Yeah, great.
So he's probably start talking about some current MMA events. Brunson versus Holland this weekend. It's a chance for Holland to go. Well, he went 5-0 last year.
Yeah.
He put himself on a 6-fight win streak, I believe, if he manages to beat Brunson tonight.
Which I have full confidence that he will.
I wouldn't be surprised if he did, to be honest. I mean, Brunson's solid, but he's always been the kind of the bridesmaid, but never the bride in the middleweight division. He'll always be kind of floating around the top 10, but he's never going to be the top 2 or 3. Granted, his last couple of performances have looked a lot more impressive. I mean, his last fight was against Edmund Shabazian, who was supposed to be the next hot shit at middleweight, and Brunson handled him no problem.
No, absolutely, I completely agree. But we've seen what this guy can do.
It's just exciting. He's got that kind of X factor about him, Kevin Holland. He talks a lot of shit in the cage. I mean, I'm almost not looking forward to fans coming back because then we won't be able to hear what he's shouting at people.
Yeah. Oh man, he's
some of the things he comes out with are hilarious. I mean, I don't know if anyone watched the face off of him and Brunson the other night, but like they were hugging by the end of it. I think Kevin Holland asked for a spanking at some point. He's just a weird dude. He's one of the guys you want to see
he's so good.
Get ahead.
Well, yeah, but I don't think he's going to get hit. I think he's going to do a lot of hitting. I think he's going to be very aggressive.
Get ahead.
Oh, get ahead. So yeah, I think he will. I think Adesanya would be a fantastic fight. And if he comes off this victory, I don't see why not.
I mean, Brunson's another one of these guys that's looking more and more. Sorry, Holland is another one of these guys that's looking more and more well-rounded every fight. He already had an excellent striking game, but in his last fight against Jacare, who's a well-renowned Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu champ. He got taken down early, fed him a hellbows with no tomorrow, and then finished him off with a knockout from off his back on the ground, a sort of swinging, really weird strike, effective.
Very.
Yeah, he just has a knack for producing the sublime at a moment's notice. I mean, against the Queen Buckley, he had that moment where he sort of licked his gloves and then laid him down with a clean straight right. So I think Dana White will certainly be hoping that Holland wins. And to be honest, as a fan, I want to see how far he can go. I want to see what his ceiling is. I think at the moment middleweight is kind of open at the top. Paulo Costa pulled out of his fight against Robert Whittaker this week, so he's been rematched against Kelvin Gastelum. Rebooked, I should say, not rematched. That was a fight that was booked to happen ages ago when Whittaker still had the belt and it fell out. Then Whittaker got injured, and hence why Izzy and Gastelum ended up fighting for the interim title before. I digress slightly. Darren Till and Marvin Vettori again, they're fighting in a couple of weeks. That's another top contender fight at the top of the division there. I know Darren Till has said essentially if Till wins, then he wants to fight him next. But I think for Holland, I wouldn't mind seeing. I think Till will get beat.
But if Till does get beat, I would say I would argue make this fight happen.
I'd love Darren Till to win, but he just seems to me to be one of these guys. He's a top fighter, don't get me wrong, but I just don't see him as a champion. There's better guys than him at welterweight. I don't really think he can make that weight safely anymore. There's better guys than him at middleweight, and if he wanted to go up to light heavyweight, I don't think he's got the skills to counteract the sort of slight size disadvantage he'd be.
Plus, we've seen what the champion of light heavyweight can do.
Yeah, I wouldn't fancy him against Jan.
If you can't beat Adesanya, you're not going to be able to go beat the top of the lightweight.
No, don't get me wrong, it's probably a favourable matchup for Till in terms of Adesanya will keep the fight in the feet for the whole 25 minutes. Yeah. I just think Adesanya's got the better striking experience out of the two. Till's possibly the more powerful, but I mean even that's more in looks than anything. For all he looks like, he's built like a brick shithouse. Darren Till really doesn't get all that many clean knockout finishes, so yeah, I'd fancy Adesanya in that one. But yeah, no, to the point that middleweight division's cleaning up nicely, and I think if Holland can get himself a decent win tonight, he can put himself right in the mix there. Whether it will be the next guy for the title or maybe the one after, he'll certainly get himself a top 5 number next to his name, I think. So he's got a lot to go for in this one, and so is Brunson. I mean, Brunson's 37-38 now. Again, if he can get an impressive victory out of him, he would have beaten the 2 latest kind of height jobs in the middleweight division. He can put himself right back up in terms of a title shot. Again, I think he probably need one more in order to get there. Maybe a Cannonier or Hermanson, that type of name.
Yeah, it's not bad.
They're 3 at the top at the moment. But yeah, whoever's doing the booking recently, it does seem like they've come out of a bit of a slumber and they're starting to really make an order at the top of these divisions. So
which is nice to see.
Credit to Mick Maynard and Sean Shelby. They do seem to be working through a bit of an horrible patch. I think the bookings over the last year have they've just put together anyone that's available to fight to keep themselves having a product going through the corona.
Yeah.
Which I did get. I mean, they've got a contractual obligation to ESPN to put on a certain amount of fights each year.
And they've done it for us as fans. It's been nice to see the fights still. Anyway, it's been a different experience.
It's not always been the highest quality fights, but some people have really made a name for themselves over the last year or so. Khamzat Chimaev, before he caught his coronavirus, he came out of nowhere. Kevin Holland again went 5-0 last year, and that was between the months of like May and December. Realistically, he probably could have another 2 fights in there if he wanted
to. And he looked fresh after nearly every fight.
Yeah. I mean, that fight against Jacare, he was laughing like a maniac. He was asking for him to fight the next week and stuff. He did call out Chimaev.
Called out Adesanya right there.
Yeah, there. Yeah. I mean, he weren't likely to get that. I mean, honestly, I think the Chimaev fight would have made sense. That would have made a lot more sense than the Leon Edwards fight he got given. But as I say, it never happened, unfortunately, due to lovely Miss Broner.
Oh yeah.
Other fight bookings made this week. TJ Dillashaw, obviously, has finished his his suspension.
Yeah.
And he's on the way back soon. He's looking to fight Corey Sandhagen.
Interesting fight.
He's coming off that impressive victory against Frankie Edgar. That standing, flying knee business that he did. I mean, granted, Frankie Edgar's on the way down now, but knocking him out is never a bad feat.
No,
he's only the second guy.
Knocking out anyone's never a bad thing.
Yeah, and I think it's a really good fight for Dillashaw coming back. I didn't want to see him get put in a title shot straight away on his return, having been banned for taking EPO. I mean, thoroughly, to be fair to him, thoroughly upfront about it.
Yeah.
He deliberately took essentially one of the worst steroids you can take in order to cheat and try and get down to 125. It didn't even work. That could not have gone worse.
I know.
He took that to try and make the weight for 125 pounds. Got knocked out by Cejudo in about a minute and a half. Then lost his belt at bantamweight.
Well, it's just a bad move, wasn't it? It's a pretty bad move.
Cheating doesn't pay, kids.
No, it's karma.
He's the proof of it. Maybe ask John Jones. But I'm really looking forward to this fight. I think Sandhagen's been kind of the dark horse of that division for a while.
Mm-hmm.
He's had the last few wins actually. To be honest, have been pretty sick. He had that fight against Marlon Moraes. He knocked him out in the spinning wheel kick. Had Marlon Moraes doing backflips across the cage. And as we say, that last finish against Frankie Edgar. I can't wait for that to come back. I mean, Dillashaw's always an exciting one to watch. He's got a really unique style. Since he left Alpha Male, went training with Dwayne Ludwig. He's been off and doing his own thing, but it's really paid dividends for him. So yeah, that'll be another sick fight. And I think that pretty much concludes it for this week, unless you've got...
No, I think that's just about it for this evening. Thank you so much for joining us today, guys. Don't forget to like, subscribe, put any comments down below. What are you thinking about the news? What do you think about who do you think is going to be the winner of these fights? Join us, because we'll be covering every last one of them as they come up.
And this time we will be back next week, barring any similar technical issues again, but we think we're all sorted. So, no, it's been great to have you with us, guys. We shall see you tomorrow lunchtime. Enjoy the fights. Peace out.